My name is Maddie Patcheek. I have been the Client Services Coordinator this semester with OASIS. I've been working alongside Kathy Alegria, Brianna Munoz Morales, Jolene Shaw, and Crystal Yorba. Next slide. We wanted to include this quote because we felt like it was a really good representation of OASIS as a whole and their vision. The vision of OASIS is to inspire a generation of youth to fulfill the highest level of life achievement possible through discovery and development of their inherent creative gifts. Next slide. So a little bit of background on OASIS. They are a community development organization who works in partnership with public and private entities, and they focus on bringing art into the lives of youth who are in low to moderate income communities. OASIS focuses on using art to encourage children to discover their passions and their gifts. And during COVID-19, the classes have currently been virtual, but before COVID, OASIS's classes were in person. They offer classes such as tap dance, cartooning, creative art journaling, graphic design, and architectural design. OASIS has also positively impacted more than 15,000 individuals and worked with numerous schools throughout the Orange County and Los Angeles County areas. Next slide. So before we had our client consultation on February 11th with OASIS, we met with their intern, Chris Jimenez, who also was a part of the PRAD team in fall 2020, and he worked with OASIS. And this meeting was really beneficial for us because when you're first going into a meeting with a client, it can be very overwhelming with all the information and just kind of testing the waters of like what you need to know and learn. And it was very beneficial to meet with Chris because he gave us insight into what Practical Advantage was able to accomplish last semester and what they fell short on. And one of the main things that Practical Advantage worked on last semester was building a social media policy. And in this social media policy, it's a pretty long written document that provides guidelines for how OASIS social media accounts should be ran, what hashtags should be used, what should the profile pictures look like, what colors to use. And so looking at this, it gave us a good idea of how to run social media pages and then also the importance of social media to OASIS. And then after that, we met with Jen and her team, and through that meeting, it just became even clearer that they're passionate about what they do and helping youth and want that to be reflected on their social media pages. Next slide. So this SWOT analysis is pretty long, so I'll try and summarize it. But excuse me. Some of the main strengths that we noticed after our client consultation were that OASIS does have a history and a reputation for serving underprivileged communities. It's of high importance of them to benefit and give back to those who may not have as much as they do. They also have very strong relationships with the school districts around them. So it's not like they're starting from scratch, but they have a solid foundation of who they know they can work with and rely on. Another strength was that the social media policy last semester was very clear and strong and allowed for a consistent message. Some weaknesses that we noticed were that there was a varied social media presence. So sometimes there would be spurts of a lot of posts, and then sometimes there was like maybe a week or so where there weren't as much posts. So what we tried to do this semester was really focus on that and change that social media posting into a strength. And then opportunities, we believe that there is a really great opportunity in reaching even more families and even more schools throughout the school districts. We also think that creating a consistent social media schedule that can last year long, as opposed to when Practical Advantage is working with OASIS, would be beneficial because then it's easier organization and easier to get posts out. Some threats are that when you search OASIS on Google, because that word is used a lot, OASIS Center International does not come up on the first page. Another threat is that schools may be more inclined to spend their budget on like math or science programs as opposed to art programs. And then another threat is that with the current like Instagram and Facebook algorithms, not all followers are seeing all posts. So our content may not always be reaching the desired audience. All right, next slide. Crystal, you can go ahead and share this slide.
Yeah, so my name's Crystal. I was the campaign book manager. So after our consultation meetings and meeting a little bit after that, we came up with 4 different goals that we wanted to reach throughout the semester. Our first goal being to increase engagement across the social media platforms of Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Along with this, we also wanted to continue using the bilingual aspect because Santa Ana, a big part of their community is Hispanic. We did a lot of our posts, or all of our posts were in both English and Spanish. Our second goal was to establish relationships with local organizations for future promotional efforts. Um, this was just again, we OASIS is itself pretty big, but there are other organizations that also do the same work OASIS does. So we thought it would be good to then work with them, or at least build some sort of relationship, so that later on in the future we could, or OASIS could have some event with them, similar to this semester they worked with Boca de Oro, and they teamed up to do that event. Our third goal was to develop AdWord campaigns and provide tutorials for future implementations. OASIS was given a certain amount of money to do AdWord campaigns, and they hadn't really been using it yet because there wasn't much research done. So one of our teammates, Jolene, knew a little bit more about that and was able to inform them and give some ideas on future campaigns that they could do. And our fourth goal was to provide recommendations for future promotion of OASIS events. This is kind of like giving them a little bit more of uh, some sort of template or consistency to follow for future promotional efforts. So, like posting on social media.
Alrighty, hi, my name is Brianna. I was the media content manager. So first I'm going to cover the key audiences. So as Madison mentioned, OASIS has positively impacted over 15,000 individuals living in low and moderate income communities. And they've primarily worked with the Santa Ana Unified School District and the Orange County Board of Supervisors. And through these partnerships, they've been able to recognize students and encourage them to partake in OASIS's programming, which offers children the opportunity to explore the arts outside of their traditional school curriculum. Next slide. So as we have seen, COVID has impacted a lot of our campaigns this semester. At the beginning, we saw this as an opportunity to reach individuals that are located a greater distance from OASIS's former in-person programming. So actually, they were able to work with the Santa Ana School District, the Los Angeles School District, and the Contra Costa County School District for this semester. We also saw that because it was taking an online format, prospective participants must have access to home broadband. And then we also saw that we had to develop a genuine online presence with our audience through a digital platform. And this can sometimes be difficult because tone or messages don't come across as they would in person. So this was something that we definitely wanted to work on. Next slide. Alrighty, and here's an ethnicity breakdown of Santa Ana. So through some research, we found that 77.9% of residents are Hispanic or Latinx. We found that the primary language spoken at home was Spanish. So about 74% of children ages 5 to 17 spoke Spanish, and about 68% of adults spoke Spanish. And of the SAUSD students, 33.9% were English language learners. So we found that it's important that OASIS's communication efforts were accessible to our target audience in their preferred language in order to maximize enrollment and participation across our social media posts. So our campaign messages. So by educating ourselves on the demographics of our target audience, we were able to develop campaign messages that were well suited for OASIS's mission. So we wanted to develop these messages through consistent and engaging posts. So we focused on 3 different types of posts: product, engagement, and giveaway posts. So our product posts focused on promoting OASIS's public and private programming. By public, I was referring to the Boca de Oro festival that took place. Anybody was allowed to register and participate in that programming. And we labeled their private programming as their art leads, those partnerships that were done with schools to their students. Also, toward the latter part of the semester, OASIS launched an online store, which featured student-designed t-shirts from their digital arts class. And then because of part of the proceeds went directly to the student designers, both the OASIS and PRAD teams found it necessary to publicize the store frequently so that these students could receive a good amount of proceeds from their designs. Next, we had our engagement posts. So prior to our team's efforts, OASIS had already executed a good amount of engagement posts successfully. And so we found it necessary to continue this practice. So we created posts that would highlight different national and international holidays. So like International Women's Day or April Fool's Day, just fun, lively things to post. We also included a few motivational quotes about the arts and how it can impact individuals' lives. And then we also, towards the end of the semester, posted a donation post calling on our audience to consider making a donation toward making arts more accessible for Southern California youth. And then lastly, we included a giveaway this semester. We learned that OASIS had some prizes that they could be used for our campaign. So we decided to take them up on that opportunity, and we conducted an Easter giveaway. So we posted a little scavenger hunt type of post where our followers would look for hidden eggs. They would comment how many they found. They would tag a couple friends in their posts. In order to win, you had to follow us, like the posts. So this kind of, we saw, increased our follower count, which was great, so that we were reaching new audiences, and they would maybe be more interested after following for this, sticking around if they liked our content. So now I will pass it on to Kathy.
Hello, my name is Kathy. I was the campaign schedule manager this semester. And first of all, I will be talking about the campaign resources. So we had a few different categories of resources, but first of all, I'll be talking about the applications. So our main form of communication between our team and the OASIS team was through email and Zoom. We had a long email chain, which is where we would update kind of just every doc that we had. Whenever we had any new information, we would update there specifically. And then for weekly meetings, which then turned into bi-weekly meetings, we would have them over Zoom. We would meet with most of the team. Usually Jen wasn't able to make it, but she would still be there in spirit because she would send us little like message or little comments through the rest of the team. And through those meetings, we did kind of similar to what we did in email, but it was just a little bit more in depth. And we talked about what we were working on, what we needed to work on next, and just kind of got a little bit more feedback during those Zoom meetings. As far as content creation, we used Canva, Google Translate, Adobe Premium Pro, sorry. So Canva we use for the majority of our content creation. That is what we used to do all of our stories, most of our Instagram posts, and also because of it, they were our Instagram posts, our Facebook posts as well. So that we felt was probably the most helpful application that we used when it came to content creation, and it was something that we had all had experience with. So it was something that we were able to just jump right into as soon as we got access to that account. For Google Translate, most of us did actually speak Spanish. However, there was obviously always a few little tricky words that we couldn't figure out or that we didn't just naturally know. So we did use that every once in a while. Obviously, that we would always just run it through all of us that did speak Spanish to make sure it was translated properly. And then we would go ahead and post that, as I believe Crystal mentioned, in our Spanish version of all of our posts. For Adobe Premium Pro, we had a video that we received towards the end of the semester. And we used that, Brianna used the Adobe Premium Pro to cut the video up into smaller videos that we could then use, that OASIS could later use in other social media campaigns, so she just used it to edit down that video essentially. And then lastly, we used Google AdWords, which, as somebody previously mentioned, Jolene was the primary user of Google AdWords, and she used that to kind of just come up with a few different campaigns for OASIS to use in the future. As far as individuals, we had Jen, Jennifer, Kathy, and Chris. Jen, like I mentioned, was not always at our meetings, but she was always there sending us little messages, sending us like good job, sending us like little comments on what we could be doing next. So she wasn't physically there, but she was usually there in some way, shape, or form. Jennifer, Kathy, and Christopher were always there at the meetings, and then they were our main source of information throughout the meetings. So that's how we use them. They would kind of be the people that we bounced ideas off of, the people that we got approval of for a bunch of our ideas, kind of like the Easter giveaway. And so they were all of these people just provided us with a lot of information that we needed to continue on with our campaign. And then as far as meetings, like I mentioned, we started off having weekly meetings. However, as the semester progressed, I believe it was towards the end of March, we decided to switch over to bi-weekly meetings, which we had every Tuesday at 10:30. Next, we have our campaign. This is actually our social media calendar. So we created it, we started working in February, obviously, but we organized the calendar in March, and we started running it from March through April. It's kind of hard to see, but we actually color coded it, so we all had some sort of project that we're always working on as far as social media. And this includes anything from Facebook posts, Instagram stories, and Instagram posts. And then this is just our campaign timeline. So we were pretty busy throughout the semester. The only week that we were not busy or working specifically was during our spring break. However, during that spring break, we were still running the Easter contest. So that was what we were doing all the semester. We had, like I said, our weekly meetings. We had a proposal. We had the Boca de Oro, which was the first main project that we had, which was very early on in the semester. We started working that the second week that we had met with OASIS, and we ran that through the second week of March. And yeah, this is just like a little outline of our campaign. And the next I will be passing it on to, I believe, Jolene.
All right, so I'll be taking care of our campaign outcomes chapter. So first we took our objectives and our goals from earlier, so then that we could derive our outcomes from that. So our first goal was that we wanted to increase our social media engagement. And so we revised the fall 2020 social media policy so that we would use more platforms and post more consistently, as well as change our branding and online personality. And then, sorry, I thought it changed. And then finally, the second one was that we also made our social media accounts more accessible to our Spanish-speaking audience by making sure that every post was gonna be bilingual. And then for our second goal, we wanted to initialize our Google Ads campaign, which we did. We were able to create seasonal search word campaigns for the arts programs at OASIS to increase website traffic. We were able to increase that by 400 clicks that led to website visits. And then we also improved upon their existing keywords and search terms that were already in the platform to increase our search engine optimization score, which went from around like 65% to 95%. And then we also provided links to videos and guides on how to use the platform for future use by the OASIS team. And then for our next goal, we just overall wanted to successfully promote OASIS's programs, mostly the Boca de Oro Festival from the beginning of the semester, and then the Art Leads program, which is an ongoing program at OASIS. So we did that by creating consistent social media posts that aligned with our policy. And we also provided OASIS with a list of schools in the Orange County area that they could reach out to in the future for potential partnerships so that they could get more kids to sign up for their programs. And then as for the measurement of our success, we basically did that in 3 different categories. Our first one was consistency, which just involved the social media policy and making sure that we were always following our calendar and then always posting those posts with the Spanish translation. And then we also wanted to measure our engagement, which we were able to increase through our more interactive posts. And then with that consistent posting, we were able to see 20.9% increase in followers on Instagram, 70.6% increase in accounts reached, and then quite a bit of increase in our post impressions. And then finally, we also wanted to work on our branding and make sure that our posts all had kind of a fun personality, because before everything was more like black and white. So we wanted to make it more kid friendly since their programs are directed towards kids. And then we also wanted to provide them with Canva post templates as well as a color palette that they can use for their future social media posts.
Okay, so then just some social media metrics. So this is from our Instagram account. So I provided some dates on when we started posting and then when we ended posting. We kind of had the whole freedom, all our freedom when it came to posting. They allowed us to post whatever, not whatever we wanted, but pretty much whatever we wanted, whenever we wanted. We did see an increase in following. I believe the exact numbers were, we went from about 91 followers to 110 followers through our semester. So that was a 20.9 increase. So that was great to look at. It felt really like we accomplished something, getting a little bit of followers. And then the next slide. This is just a couple examples of things we posted. So we have posts to Instagram, our Facebook, and the LinkedIn account. And then for the future of OASIS, we really hope they continue to implement the bilingual social media posts. That way they have more of a chance to reach a wider audience and staying consistent with their social media posting like they have written on the social media policy, which we did change a little bit. We also hope that they are able to create stronger relationships with local nonprofits for future collaboration efforts. We hope that they begin implementing AdWords for their campaigns so that they can be more easily reached and people can find them easily on sites like Google. And then finally, with things starting to look up, we really hope that OASIS can soon start to resume in-person after-school arts education programs.
And we just wanted to take a moment and say thank you to OASIS for providing us with this opportunity. It's been really amazing for us and a great learning lesson.